All right, y'all. So I don't really have a great setup for where I'm at with the camera. And so this one's just going to be audio tonight, but didn't want to wait till tomorrow to get you guys a recap on a very big and important game for the Indiana Pacers. They go on the road, they defeat the Golden State Warriors by a score of 123 to 111. The Pacers improved to 40-31 on the season, still locked into that number 6 seed, and definitely a big and very important game for the Indiana Pacers, as now they start to put a little bit of space between them and a team like the 76ers, who sit there at 38-31. Now the Pacers put themselves a little ahead of the curve when it comes to that, give themselves a little bit of breathing room. And obviously the Pacers right on the heels of teams like the New York Knicks, the Orlando Magic, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're right there with all these teams, and definitely a big one here for the Pacers tonight. And we already know, the first time the Pacers played the Warriors, it wasn't a great game for the Pacers. Were not able to stop the Warriors and what they did all night long. It just was a game that really got out of hand really fast for the Pacers. And so while it definitely seemed like at the beginning, man, like you thought, okay, here we go again. The Warriors are shooting crazy. They're shooting out of their minds. They're making some of these crazy type of shots. Prime when they were, the best of the best. They were playing like that for a good chunk of that first quarter, really even the first half in a lot of ways. Steph Curry was just making everything. He was just draining everything early on in that game. And, obviously the game went into that. Pacers were shooting well as well. So, coming out of that first quarter, it was tied at 38. And then going into halftime, the Pacers were down by 1. And then you're really like, okay, like if the Pacers can just continue to stay with the Warriors and hopefully let them cool off a little bit, the Pacers can do some stuff. And that's exactly what happened there in that third quarter. The Pacers were able to go on one of their best runs of the night in that third quarter, 36 points from them, which is obviously really good. But I think the biggest thing is they were able to limit the Warriors offensively to only 21 points in that third quarter. So the Pacers really did a good job in that second half on having some really great defense. And even there in that fourth quarter, things got a little bit tight there within single digits in that fourth quarter. But again, when it came and it mattered the most, the Pacers were able to take care of business in this game and able to pull out a double-digit victory. So that's definitely a great thing and a very important thing for the Indiana Pacers as they continue to try to push for the playoffs and stay here in the playoffs and avoid that play-in scenario for them. And so diving into some of the stats here, before we get into some individual stats, let's talk about some team stats here. So, like I mentioned, the Warriors early on, they were just lights out, just shooting. It was unbelievable, really. But they really started to cool off in that second half. They finished only shooting 41%. The Pacers were right around 50% shooting. 3 points, the Pacers outshot the Warriors by a pretty good rate. The Warriors only shot 29% from 3-point, whereas the Pacers were 42%. And the Pacers really did a lot of things well in this game. The only thing that I would say the Pacers that really probably kept the Warriors in the game as long as it did was the Warriors got over 14 more rebounds in this game than the Pacers did. But the Pacers pretty much in every category outside of rebounds really were able to, take care of business for the most part and really was able to dominate pretty much everywhere else. And really, when it comes to the stat sheet, the Pacers were able to really be in control, especially, going into that second half. They really did some nice things. But diving into some of the stats, first for Golden State, obviously talk about Steph Curry. In that first half, he was absolutely incredible, but he only finished with 25 points, 9 of 24 shooting, 6 of 18 from 3-point. So not a great game from Steph Curry, even though he heated up really, really quickly in that game and was starting to make some just absolutely prime Steph Curry shots. He really started to falter down the stretch. Obviously only finishing with 25 points on 24 attempts for field goals. That's not a good stat for Steph Curry at all, but he finishes with 25, 10 and 5. Draymond Green had 11, 8 and 6. Kuminga had 11, 8 and 2. Podziemski had 13, 10 and 2. Wiggins 8, 5 and 1. Klay Thompson off the bench, 17 points 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. He was 6 of 15 shooting. Really not that great from 3-point range, only 3 of 10. Of course, he did have some similar to Steph in that first half. He was really, really efficient. But then going down to that second half, he started to really not hit and really started to cool off a whole lot. Trace Jackson Davis, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists. Chris Paul, 12 points, 5 of 10 shooting, 2 of 5 from the 3 points. But the guys, there was a couple times where Chris Paul attempted some shots that weren't even close. I mean, there were some awful attempts there by Chris Paul. And so overall, when you look at it, I mean, I think the shooting percentage kind of tells the story. I mean, really every single player, for the most part, that attempted 10 or more field goals in this game was under 50%. I guess the only guy that was at 50% was Chris Paul. He was 5 of 10 shooting. But other than that, just not a great game at all for the Warriors shooting the basketball. It just was a really, really tough game for them. Now, taking it over to the Pacers side of things, Tyrese Halliburton, I think it's safe to say now, Tyrese Halliburton is starting to show that he is back to where he was, right? The last 2 games in particular, Tyrese has been really, really efficient and started off, kind of struggling a little bit, had a couple misses early on, but really found his groove when it came down to it. Finished with 26 points, 2 rebounds, 11 assists, 9 of 18 shooting, 4 of 8 from the 3-point range. He had a stretch there where he was hitting everything. So great to see Tyrese kind of rounding back into form. Pascal Siakam was incredible tonight. 25, 16 rebounds, 6 assists, 11 of 17 shooting. He was definitely fantastic for the Indiana Pacers tonight. And then also Andrew Nembhard had a really good game as well. 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, only 11 field goal attempts. So he definitely had a really, really efficient night. So great to see that. Not as efficient night for Aaron Nesmith tonight. He only shot 3 of 11, so he definitely struggled when it came to shooting the basketball tonight. Miles Turner also struggled to shoot the basketball tonight at an efficient level. He had a couple times where, he had some wide open threes and just they didn't fall tonight. It was just wasn't his night shooting the basketball, but he still finished with a double-double, 14 points, 10 rebounds in this game. Also, shout out to Miles Turner, surpassing Jermaine O'Neal for the most blocks in franchise history tonight against the Warriors with 1,246. Wanted to give him a special shout out as he is now the leading blocker in Indiana Pacers history. And the Pacers really had a couple guys off the bench that really were big contributors to them. Jalen Smith, 11 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist on 21 minutes. TJ McConnell in only 17 minutes, 11 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 of 11 shooting. Obi Toppin added another 8 and 3 rebounds. And then, of course, you had Ben Shepherd, who only attempted 4 field goals, but only made 1 of them tonight. So not a great night from him shooting the basketball. He had a couple times there early on where he took some shots and they just weren't falling for him tonight. But overall, when you look at the Pacers, especially some of those guys who shot at a higher volume, they played really, really well and were pretty efficient all night long, which is why the Pacers were up near 50% shooting for the night. And so definitely great to see from the Pacers. This is a game, that you didn't know how it was going to go. It just seemed like last time when the Pacers played, they just didn't have any answers for what the Warriors were doing offensively. So great to see that really ever since the All-Star break, it's definitely been great to see this Pacer defense start to play a little bit more efficient. It's definitely been great to see that. They've definitely improved from where they were pre-All-Star break to where they are now. And I think that's the reason why they're able to handle some of these games and all that stuff. So that is definitely positive things moving forward as the Pacers have to continue to stack on these wins because at this point, guys, every single game matters for the Indiana Pacers. And if they want to be in the playoffs, not on the outside looking in, not in the play-in, but have a seed locked down, they have to win games like this. So definitely great to see the Indiana Pacers pull through when it mattered the most here in this game. Definitely great to see Tyrese Halliburton starting to round back into form. I mean, we knew, guys, when Tyrese is on, the Pacers are more than likely they could beat about anybody, right? But he's had a couple games where he's been off, and the Pacers have lost some games they probably should have won. So if Tyrese can be back to near where he was, pre-injury, I mean, I think this team can do some things, man. I really think they can contend and they can play with some of those best of the best type of teams. I know the Warriors aren't that great of a team tonight, but again, this could have easily been one of those trap games where the Warriors could do what they did to you, the last time you met in Indiana. So definitely great to see the Pacers take care of business tonight against the Warriors and kind of weather the storm early and figure things out and ultimately close the game out. It was really important for me in that last 6 minutes when the Pacers had that double-digit lead. Could they hold on? Could they close it out? And they were able to do that, and that's what good teams do. So love to see that from the Indiana Pacers. But y'all, let me know your thoughts here on this Pacer win. Was it a big one in your opinion? What are your thoughts on this game? Do you think Tyrese Halliburton is back? Let me know all those things, guys, in the comments down below. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, go Pacers.